Barrel-proof whiskey is the industry's honesty test. No water added, no safety rails. Just proof, oak, time, and consequences. Some bottles use that strength to build depth and drama. Others simply crank the heat and call it a day. Today's countdown ranks 15 barrel-proof whiskeys from worst to best, not by hype or resale insanity, but by how they actually drink, how often they deliver, and whether the power serves the flavor. A few fan favorites won't like where they land. Pace yourself. This list doesn't pull punches. Number 15. Maker's Mark Cask Strength. Maker's Mark Cask Strength is the softest handshake in a room full of heavy lifters. It brings proof, sure, but it does so politely. This is barrel strength designed not to scare anyone away, and that's both its strength and its problem. The wheated mash bill leans into creamy vanilla, warm caramel, and a rounded sweetness that feels familiar from the first sip. That familiarity is exactly why it lands at the bottom of this list. In a category defined by intensity and revelation, this bottle rarely surprises. The alcohol warmth stays restrained, the texture remains smooth, and the flavor arc moves in straight lines instead of curves. It's pleasant, dependable, and well-made, but it never fully exploits the freedom barrel-proof offers. For newer drinkers, this bottle works as a bridge. For seasoned barrel-proof fans, it often feels like potential left on the table. Nothing here is wrong, it's just cautious. And caution doesn't win a fight where everyone else showed up swinging. Number 14. Old Ezra 7. Barrel Strength. Old Ezra 7 comes out loud, proud, and unapologetically sweet. At first glance, it looks like a knockout value play. 7 years of age, big proof, a price that undercuts much of the field. The first sip delivers thick caramel, brown sugar, and a wave of ethanol that announces its arrival without warning. The issue is what happens next. After that initial surge, the experience narrows. The sweetness stays dominant, the heat stays elevated, and the middle never quite fills out. It's bold without being layered, powerful without being particularly expressive. You feel the strength more than you taste evolution. That doesn't make it bad. In fact, many drinkers love it for exactly that reason. It's straightforward, indulgent, and unapologetic. But in a ranking focused on how barrel-proof elevates complexity, Old Ezra 7 often feels like brute force doing a finesse job. It hits hard, then repeats itself. Effective, yes. Memorable, not always. If you enjoy whiskey that doesn't whisper, hit like and subscribe. I rank bottles based on real drinking, not hype screenshots. Also, tell me in the comments, do you sip barrel-proof neat, or do you add water like you're negotiating a ceasefire? Next, number 13, Barrel Bourbon Cask Strength Batches. Barrel Bourbon is the wild card of this list. Every release shows up with a new batch number, a new blend, and a new personality. Sometimes that creativity produces brilliance. Other times, it produces confusion. At cask strength, those differences become impossible to ignore. When a batch is dialed in, the layers are impressive. Fruit, spice, oak, and sweetness collide in ways that feel intentional and exciting. When it misses, the same freedom becomes chaos. Flavors clash. Heat spikes awkwardly. Balance feels theoretical rather than achieved. That unpredictability is why barrel lands here. You're not buying a whiskey as much as you're buying a roll of the dice. For some, that's thrilling. For others, it's exhausting. Barrel proof magnifies both success and failure. And with Barrel, the results vary too widely to climb higher. The highs are real, the lows are too. Number 12, Smoke Wagon Uncut Unfiltered. Smoke Wagon Uncut Unfiltered announces itself with texture first. It's dense, oily, and rich, coating the palate like it plans to stay a while. Sweet notes of caramel and vanilla led the charge, followed by spice and a noticeable alcohol kick that never quite steps out of the spotlight. The appeal is obvious. This whiskey feels indulgent. It drinks like dessert with a temper. Fans love the intensity and the unapologetic delivery, especially neat. The problem is restraint. The sweetness and heat often compete instead of collaborating, and the finish can feel more forceful than refined. Smoke Wagon isn't trying to be subtle, and that honesty earns respect. But barrel proof shines brightest when strength unlocks nuance. not when it overwhelms it. Here, the volume knob stays high from start to finish. Fun in bursts, fatiguing over time. Number 11. Wild Turkey Rare. Breed Rare. Breed is the veteran who still shows up ready. It blends multiple ages, skips dilution, and delivers a profile that feels deliberate rather than reckless. Sweetness, spice, oak, and warmth move together instead of fighting for control. For many drinkers, this is the entry point where barrel proof starts to make sense. So why does it sit just outside the top 10? Familiarity. Rare Breed does almost everything right, but it rarely surprises anymore. The flavor map is clear, the structure predictable, the experience consistent to a fault. That consistency is admirable, yet in a category built on revelation, it can feel safe. This bottle earns respect through reliability rather than risk. It's balanced, flavorful, and widely available, which makes it easy to recommend. It just doesn't push boundaries the way the bottles above it do. Solid, trusted, no longer shocking. Number 10. Knob Creek Single Barrel Reserve, 120 proof. Knob Creek Single Barrel Reserve enters like a seasoned heavyweight who knows exactly what it's there to do. At 120 proof, it doesn't rely on theatrics. Instead, it leans into density, oak, and a slow-building warmth that spreads rather than spikes. The aroma alone sets expectations. Roasted peanuts, charred wood, and dark caramel that feels deliberate, not flashy. On the palate, this whiskey moves with purpose. The oak presence is assertive, sometimes even dominant, but it's supported by enough sweetness and spice to keep things grounded. This isn't a bottle chasing elegance. It's structured, muscular, and unapologetically traditional. Each single barrel adds subtle variation, which keeps repeat pours interesting without turning the experience into a gamble. What holds it back from climbing higher is endurance. After a full glass, the wood can start to crowd the room, and the finish lingers longer than it needs to. Still, as a no-nonsense barrel-proof option that delivers weight and credibility, Knob Creek does its job well. It's a steakhouse pour in a field full of experimental menus. Number 9. Booker's, uncut and unfiltered. Booker's doesn't arrive quietly. It storms in, drops its proof on the table, and dares you to keep up. Every batch carries its own name and story, which already sets the tone. This is whiskey with personality, sometimes too much of it. The signature beam profile is front and center. Roasted nuts, dark sugar, and a heavy mouthfeel that announces seriousness from the first sip. At its best, Booker's feels expansive. The alcohol heat frames the flavors instead of smothering them, and a few drops of water can transform the pour entirely. The mid-palate opens, the sweetness stretches out, and the finish becomes more expressive. It's a bottle that rewards patience and experimentation. The challenge is consistency. Some batches sing, others shout. When the balance slips, the proof takes over, and the experience becomes more about endurance than enjoyment. Booker's earns its place here because it embraces the raw nature of barrel proof without apology. It just doesn't always know when to step back. Thrilling when it lands, exhausting when it doesn't. Number 8. Four Roses Private Selection, Barrel Strength. Four Roses Private Selection feels like a choose-your-own-adventure novel written for whiskey nerds. Different recipes, yeast strains, and barrel characteristics create bottles that can taste wildly different despite wearing the same label. At barrel strength, those distinctions become vivid. Floral notes, baking spice, fruit and oak take turns leading, depending entirely on the pick. When everything aligns, the result is mesmerizing. The whiskey feels sculpted rather than forced, with layers unfolding gradually instead of rushing forward. The proof amplifies nuance rather than masking it, and the finish often surprises with a shift in direction just when you think you figured it out. The trade-off is predictability. Buying one of these bottles without knowing the specific recipe can feel like spinning a wheel. Some picks are elegant and complex, others lean sharp or unbalanced. That variability keeps it from climbing higher, but it also makes the experience exciting. Four Roses Private Selection isn't a single whiskey. It's a category of possibilities, and at its best, it's unforgettable. Number 7. Jack Daniel's Single Barrel Barrel Proof. This bottle exists to challenge assumptions. Jack Daniel's Single Barrel Proof strips away every joke and stereotype attached to the brand and replaces them with authority. The proof range is serious, often north of expectations, and the flavor follows suit. Banana bread, vanilla, toasted oak, and spice arrive with confidence and refuse to fade quietly. What sets this whiskey apart is its ability to carry weight without collapsing. The texture is thick, almost chewy, and the finish stretches on with purpose rather than heat alone. Even neat, it maintains clarity, which is no small feat at this strength. Add a splash of water and it reveals a softer side that feels earned, not engineered. Its placement here reflects refinement rather than flaw. While powerful and expressive, it doesn't always reach the layered depth of the bottles above it. Still, it commands respect. This is Jack Daniel's without compromise, proving that familiarity and ferocity can coexist in the same glass. Number 6. Larceny Barrel Proof. Larceny Barrel Proof arrives with a reputation that catches people off guard. As a wheated bourbon, it's expected to be gentle. Instead, it shows up with force, structure, and a surprising amount of attitude. The aroma hints at sweetness, but the palate quickly reveals spice, oak, and a proof level that demands attention. What makes this bottle compelling is contrast. The wheat softens the edges just enough to let the deeper notes shine, creating a push and pull between comfort and intensity. Each batch brings its own personality, but the core experience remains focused and confident. With water, it opens beautifully, stretching into a longer, more layered finish. Its climb stops here because availability and batch variation can complicate the relationship. Some releases feel perfectly tuned. Others lean a bit rough around the edges. Even so, when Larceny Barrel Proof is on form, it punches well above its weight. It's the reminder that softness and strength aren't opposites. They're tools, and this bottle knows how to use both. Number 5. Elijah Craig Barrel Proof. Elijah Craig Barrel Proof is where this list stops playing around. This bottle doesn't introduce barrel proof anymore. It defines expectations. Each release shows up with authority, carrying age, proof, and density in equal measure. From the first nose, it's clear this isn't about shock value. Deep caramel, dark chocolate, toasted oak, and spice roll together like a practiced ensemble. What separates this whiskey is how complete it feels. The strength doesn't dominate the experience, it frames it. The palate unfolds in stages, starting rich, moving savory, then finishing with a long, warming fade that keeps evolving. A few drops of water don't tame it. They unlock additional layers that were already waiting. Batch variation exists, but the floor is remarkably high. Even weaker releases outperform most competitors. Elijah Craig Barrel Proof earns its place here because it balances power with patience. It's bold without chaos, intense without sloppiness. This is the bottle many people reference when they say, "This is what barrel proof should taste like." Number 4. Russell's Reserve 13. Russell's Reserve 13 feels less like a whiskey and more like a statement of intent. Mature barrels, serious proof, and a profile shaped by time rather than urgency. From the moment it hits the glass, there's a sense of calm confidence. Dark fruit, seasoned oak, leather, and spice drift forward slowly, as if nothing needs to rush. The age shows immediately. The alcohol warmth integrates into the structure instead of sitting on top of it. Each sip feels rounded, deliberate, and deeply layered. This is the kind of pour that rewards quiet attention. The finish stretches long and dry, leaving echoes instead of noise. Its position just outside the top 3 comes down to availability and price pressure. When people finally open the bottle, expectations are sky high, sometimes unrealistically so. Still, when judged purely on what's in the glass, Russell's Reserve 13 delivers sophistication at barrel strength. It doesn't shout for attention, it assumes it already has it. Number 3. Stag. Stag doesn't arrive with subtlety, it arrives with intent. This is barrel proof that leans into its identity fully, offering intensity without apology. From the first sip, it's clear why this bottle built a reputation. Dark fruit, brown sugar, spice, and oak crash together in a way that feels deliberate rather than reckless. What makes Stag special is momentum. The whiskey builds from front to finish, growing richer and more expressive as it goes. The heat is real, but it's never the whole story. With patience, the pour opens into something expansive, revealing layers that reward slow sipping and careful dilution. Hype follows this bottle everywhere, and that hype complicates perception. Secondary prices distort expectations, and scarcity turns it into a trophy. But stripped of that noise, Stag earns its place here. It's powerful, flavorful, and memorable. Not perfect, but unmistakable. This is barrel proof with presence. Number 2, A. Smith Bowman, Cask Strength, the batch number 4. This bottle is the plot twist. A. Smith Bowman. Cask Strength doesn't look like a heavyweight at first glance, yet it consistently outperforms expectations. The moment it opens, the complexity is undeniable. Sweetness, spice, fruit, and oak arrive layered instead of stacked, creating depth without aggression. What elevates this whiskey is refinement. The proof never feels unruly. Instead, it amplifies clarity. Each note has room to breathe, and the transitions between flavors feel intentional. It drinks confidently neat and transforms beautifully with a few drops of water, revealing a softer, more intricate side. Batch number 4 cemented its reputation by proving that barrel strength doesn't need brute force to impress. It needs control. This bottle delivers elegance without sacrificing power, which is why it lands just shy of the top spot. It doesn't rely on legend. It earns respect through execution. Number 1, George T. Stagg. George T. Stagg sits alone at the summit because it does something rare. It makes extreme strength feel purposeful. Aged well beyond most of the category and bottled without dilution, this whiskey carries weight, depth, and history in every pour. Dark chocolate, cherry, oak, spice, and leather weave together in a way that feels almost architectural. The proof is formidable, but it never overwhelms. Instead, it supports a structure built over years in the barrel. Each sip unfolds slowly, revealing new layers long after you think the glass is finished. Add water and it doesn't weaken. It evolves, offering an entirely new experience. Scarcity and price inflate the legend. But even when stripped of myth, the liquid justifies the crown. George T. Stagg isn't simply barrel proof. It's the category at its absolute peak. Barrel proof whiskey isn't about flexing proof numbers. It's about what strength reveals when nothing is held back. Some bottles chase heat, others build depth. The best ones do both. If your favorite landed too low, argue with me in the comments. If it landed high, you've got good taste. Either way, sip slow, add water wisely, and I'll see you in the next countdown.